What's poppin', yo? Welcome back to my YouTube video, and today we're taking a look at another film review, and today we're taking a look at Smile 2. I did watch Smile 1 in cinemas with my ex, and I watched Smile 2 in bed alone. So, you know, life's good, because watching movies in bed is absolutely fantastic, especially a horror movie on a cold, stormy night, which was a really good ambiance for this sort of movie. I'm going to be honest, I was not looking forward to Smile 2. It wasn't a movie which was high up on my sort of film watch list because I didn't really enjoy the first one. I thought it was quite boring and very lackluster. But the second one came out and I already committed by watching the first one, so I was in it for the long haul. So I put on the second one and decided to watch it with a good storm in the background, some nice sort of gin and pineapple, which I thought was an absolute brilliant combination. If you do want to see that, I do have a food review on it for you, so you can go check that out after this video. But without any further delay, let's take a look at Smile 2, which is a horror mystery, which is 2 hours and 12 minutes. It is a 6.9 out of 10 on IMDb and 86% Rotten Tomatoes. You can watch this in cinemas or on YouTube, and about to embark on a new world tour, global pop sensation Sky Riley begins to experience increasingly terrifying and inexplicable events, overwhelmed by the death of her former drug dealer. Right, cool. So that's what Google says. That is what Google says. Let's get into the actual story. So it starts off with 6 days later. The film opens with 6 days later. 6 days later from what? You cannot just start a film with 6 days later. Is it 6 days later from where the film starts? Is it 6 days later from a first movie? Where's the 6 days later? I don't know, because it opens up with a guy killing a mob boss, killing another one, accidentally giving the demon to another guy, and then running out to the middle of the road and getting hit by a car. Simple as that. Hit by a car. We then go either backward or forward in time. I don't know. I was already baffled by the other time travel, so I don't know where the fuck this movie goes. But we continue. And we go. The way he died was a big blood spill in the shape of a smile. Wow. Pretty iconic. Anyway, we move to our main character, who was dealing with drugs. She just got out of rehab. She's going on a second world tour because she cancelled the first one. She's training. She has a scar on her stomach and a scar on her back, which she's pretty insecure about, so she doesn't like wearing certain dresses. So, because of her history with drugs, she isn't allowed painkillers from the doctors. So she goes to a drug dealer to be like, hey, can I have some, like, paracetamol? Can I have anything stronger than Tylenol? And he's, like, going crazy. He's going nuts. He's sweating. He's got plastic water guns displayed on his wall, which is a pretty interesting way to show a character, because when you have a character and you have their house being shown on screen, that is an incredible way to get them to be able to show what the character is like, to show who they are as a person. They have a big LED dollar sign on the side. Obviously, this guy loves money. This guy thinks he's rich. He's trying to act rich when he really isn't. And I just don't understand why he had water guns on his wall. That just seemed like a really shitty design choice. And I don't understand the whole mindset behind that, unless they were trying to get at that he was very childlike. But anyway, none of this fucking matters, because within the next minute, he's already slamming a giant dumbbell into his face, breaking his face open. And with a really, like, you know, this squelch, this sort of jaw ripping off and hitting the floor, that is a very distinct sound, which you will hear for the rest of the movie. That is how they get you. They use distinct sounds, which keep coming back to show you when shit is about to go down. So, continuing from that, he dies, she gets trauma, she then gets the demon from the first movie, and she starts seeing people smiling everywhere, and that's not good. She tries to reconnect with a friend which she, you know, cut off, and, you know, she comes, stays the night, and she has more terrifying dreams. We start to learn more about her past and why she has these scars, which is because she and her ex at the time, or her husband, I don't fucking know, they were fighting in a car, and she pulled the wheel and they crashed. He got impaled. She was crying and screaming. Now, this backstory doesn't do anything for the film. This backstory, this little plot detail which they keep coming back on, that doesn't provide anything to the film. She says all she does is ruin people's life, and music has ruined her life, and she keeps going on this, like, trauma rampage where she's blaming herself for everything that's happened. She's blaming drugs and music. They were both on drugs in that car accident, yes. That is that. She did pull the wheel, so yes, that is her fault, but music didn't fucking do that. She was blaming music. She did that on her own, and that's it. That's all we have. That's all that the references to this death do. And her trauma doesn't need to arrive from that. She could have already got trauma from, being, like, on drugs, right? That's already the main focal point. No one gives a shit. No one mentions this guy. No one mentions or talks about him slamming the car into a tree. That is never mentioned. Only drugs are mentioned. So I feel like we could have saved a good 10 minutes of this backstory, because we don't need it. We do not need it. Like, it is not needed, because he died. Fine. Cool. That doesn't give anything to our character. That doesn't give her any sort of motive, any sort of drive to keep going, any sort of, like, holdbacks. It just happened. And with the stuff that has happened, like the drugs, yes, they pick on that. They use that. That is a good plot point that they keep coming back to. That's why she went to see him. That's why she isn't allowed painkillers. That's why people think she's crazy and don't actually believe her because of her history with drugs. That plays a vital point to her character. Her boyfriend, her ex, her husband, whoever he was at the time, doesn't add anything to the story. In the slightest. Nothing at all. I don't get why they added that in. Anyway, continuing on. She is visited by a guy, and he's like, yo, if I stop your heart, it will kill the demon, and then it will disappear. She's like, fuck you, I don't want that. She goes off, ends up getting in trouble by a load of people, and picking on my biggest fear. This next scene picks on my biggest fucking fear of things moving when you don't look at them. I stopped watching Doctor Who because I fucking hate Weeping Angels. I stopped playing Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. I took a break from that because I could not handle those fucking robots which move when you don't look at them. That is my biggest fear, and something that I cannot fucking stand. It makes me cringe, it makes me panic, I hate it. I don't like shit moving when I blink when I'm not looking. That builds so much suspense, and I was shitting bricks during this scene. Anyway, she passes out, she goes into the hospital, she breaks out of the hospital, kills her mum, but in her mind it looks like the mum killed herself. She gets in the car with a mate, they drive to this sort of place, this workshop, where they're sort of gonna do this test, this abandoned Pizza Hut. The monster then comes, says, haha, you're not in control, bitch, I am. She wakes up on stage at her concert, a big monster crawls out, kills her, and then passes the disease, this demon, onto every fucker else in the stadium. That ending was fucking good, because it just shows how much of an impact she had. Having the, demon transfer to every single one of these people in the stadium is big, because it continues the trend that these movies have been setting. They've been setting up this demon to be this parasitic creature, this creature which wants to feed off the host as much as possible and then pass on to another one. So it passing on to a wider audience and passing off to more people rather than just one at a time, it is spreading. It is gonna do more damage, and that is what a virus and disease wants to do. So treating it like that is really good and has a pretty outstanding ending. And I can see why the demon, why this creature, this sin, I don't fucking know what it is, neither did them in the movie, has moved on to this singer. I don't think they should make a Smile 3, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think they can, unless they put it into like an apocalyptic world where everybody has it and there is a very few people who do have it and they cannot stop it at this point. It would be an apocalyptic sort of movie where there's very few people left, and I'm not here for that because that would be very Quiet Placey, and I just don't think it's the right direction for the story to go, but it's the corner that they have placed themselves into. Other than that, The CGI was decent. They used very, very basic horror movie tropes with zooming in on her face to see her reaction to something that we can't see, and building up suspense that way by sort of her widening her eyes, looking shocked, looking scared at something that we can't see, building up sort of tension so then when we inevitably see it, we will see why she's scared and probably shit ourselves too in a form of jump scare. It also uses these wide background shots with a blurry background. Again, most horror movies do use this to sort of show us the background, to show us as the viewer something that the character can't see. So it's the opposite of the first trope that I was talking about, where we see it before the character and it builds tension because we're worried for the character. Again, both of these are quite basic and used quite, fluently and quite often in this movie. There was a lot of bait and switches in this movie as well, where we don't know what's real and what's not, and I feel like that just makes the movie shit, and just doesn't make it as interesting or as engaging, because we don't know what's real and we don't know what's not. It gives us a sense of, oh, half of this movie was just in her head, because the end half was completely in her head. None of the end half was real, so it just gave us this sort of trend and this experience of oh, this movie was pointless, nothing was real, it wasn't exciting, it didn't hook you because it was fake, it didn't happen. And honestly, some of these horror movie trends are extremely boring and just overdone, overused, and makes horrors feel very repetitive and feel like they have to have this checklist and they have to tick off all these separate things to make sure it'll be a quote-unquote successful horror movie. I much preferred this one to the second one, because going into this, I knew that it was a demon, and it actually scared me more than the first one did. Also, I think this movie is a pretty solid 6 out of 10. I probably won't give it any higher than that, because it's very unlikely to happen in real life, and that shit just doesn't scare me.